You're probably never going to believe this, but when you have eczema, stress can actually be more important than diet. So when you're trying to heal your eczema naturally, so many people focus so heavily on diet, but they forget how important stress management is. And there's a lot that goes into stress management and healing naturally, and so much of it has to do with your past traumas, the things that you've dealt with, and the way that you're responding with stress to external stimulus. And so I find that there is a cycle that happens where you respond to an external stimulus with stress, you find out that it comes from something that you dealt with in childhood, and all of this kind of creates this giant loop of how it ends up getting back to eczema. So for example, back in your childhood, let's say your mom had a very codependent relationship with you. So now you recreate that in friendships, you're recreating that in relationships, and then when you recreate that in your relationships, it causes you stress. That stress is almost like an antibiotic in your gut. It wreaks havoc on your organs and then leads to eczema worsening. So many of my clients will be like, oh my God, I went through something really stressful and my eczema exploded, or I notice every time I'm nervous, I start to scratch and I start to get itchier, or my skin starts to get hotter and I flare. And I know you know what I'm talking about because it's such a huge relationship between the stress response and eczema. I just had a client and they were like, oh, well, I took a drive and I went to go take a test, but the test wasn't that stressful. And I think there's a huge misconception about what stress actually looks like. It's more of a nervous system response than I can hear anxious thoughts in my voice. And you can't logic your way through something being stressful or not stressful. It's your body's reactions and your nervous system reactions to what's going on. And so as much as we want to rationalize it and say, well, it doesn't make any sense for me to be stressed out, you need to listen to your body. And you can notice when you do something new or you're in a certain environment, you feel itchier. Like, for example, maybe you're hanging out with your husband's parents and just you're feeling unsafe around them can create a lot more itchiness in your skin. And so what I always like to start my clients off with is the why. So I feel uncomfortable around my husband's parents. Why? Well, I feel judged. Well, in what way do you feel judged? Well, I feel like I'm not good enough. Why do you feel like you're not good enough? And you try to reflect inwardly and understand where all that's coming from the inside out. So I'm not good enough could potentially go back to your childhood where your parents had very high expectations of you. And so then to go forward and heal that, you work through your trauma and you start reparenting yourself. So what this looks like is you basically give yourself the love, the affection, the words of affirmation that you hope to have from your parents. And if you're an adult, this is what everyone needs to do, is learn how to reparent yourself and create your own safety and your own environment within yourself. So let's say I feel judged by his parents. Okay, if you go to your parents, in an ideal world where your parents are just miracle workers, what would they say to you? Well, maybe mom says, of course you're enough. Like, this obviously would be like, oh, I feel judged because I don't feel like I'm enough. Well, of course you're enough. You've always been enough. You're innately enough. And you start to affirm yourself. So you're detaching yourself from your actual parents and creating your own parenthood within yourself. Or what would your dad say? Well, you're great at everything you do. You're such a wonderful person. I've always felt so inspired by you. And so you're then affirming and loving yourself. Or maybe it looks like you hug yourself like you wish your like mom would, or you give yourself the attention and you sit down and listen. Like, all right, how are you feeling today? and you just sit there and you spew it out loud. So maybe you record it into a voice note, or maybe you just sit there with yourself having this conversation, or maybe it's just all in your head. If you have good visualization, maybe you're visualizing your perfect parents and you're creating that environment for yourself. And in healing this, you can stop responding with stress, or the amount of times that you're responding to stimulus in your life becomes less and less and less, to where, okay, I feel judged by his parents, but in the moment, I'm like, oh, I'm so worthy. My husband loves me. His parents also really like me. Or I'm detached from their opinions. And you start to have better moments to where you're not having a nervous system breakdown every time you're around your husband's parents, just as an example. And so then your body gets to relax more and more and more. And sometimes when we have really severe eczema, it's time to just rest. It's canceling plans, it's resting, it's resetting your nervous system. I literally told one of my clients that when she feels overwhelmed, go hide in the closet and reset. Find a very safe space. So if your closet has no stimulus and it's a safe place for you, go sit in there for 5 minutes and just breathe. It's all about learning your body and listening to your body so that you can heal so deeply and so holistically from eczema and anything else that is bothering you. So I hope this video is helpful. I know it's different. I actually talked about this on an Instagram live the other day, so this is going into more detail from that. So if you like this, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I've been talking about eczema here since 2017, and I am not stopping anytime soon. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.